tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasahami. Okay, so I hope everybody found that useful. And if not useful, then at least interesting. Yeah, most of the monks that I've lived with in my life have been convert Buddhists. I think that's the case. I ordained in America at a Abhayagiri monastery in California, and pretty much all of the monks, none of them were born into Buddhist families. They all encounter Buddhism as adults, and that has some advantages to it, and it also has, we don't come to faith in the same way that faith might come to someone who's born into a healthy Buddhist culture or subculture. But one of the positives is that, you become inspired, and it's almost like inspiration relay. If you're finding some benefit, you find some benefit, like for me, and I think this is the case for many, is you go to a meditation retreat because it's so easy to read all the papers about the physiological and psychological benefits of meditation. So you say, okay, I'm actually going to try it. And you go in and meditate. And you say, okay, this is not a cult. It's just trying to sit quietly by myself. And it turns out that that's harder than you might expect. And so you get some faith that, okay, I can trust in the process of me just sitting alone by myself. No one is going to try to brainwash me. I'm just in a room by myself. And then someone says, oh, you can read this discourse or this book. And then you read the discourse in the book, and it seems like, okay, that book is not trying to brainwash me, or at least it seems like it's, even if it is, it seems logical. It's making a good case, or at least it's interesting. And then you read that discourse, and maybe it's on a website that at the bottom it says, if you like this one, then check out this other one. And you go and check out that other discourse. You go and see a nun or a monk talk, or you hear about a great teacher like Thich Nhat Hanh. He almost won the Nobel Peace Prize, nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize by Martin Luther King Jr. That's great. A Buddhist. Dalai Lama, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. So you read a book by one of these venerables and say, oh, that's inspiring. And okay, I can take the next step. And you kind of have to walk your way into things. And you really do want, or I still want, clear answers. I want the refuges to be meaningful for me. In a monastery, you come to a monastery, if you've ever been to a monastery, or if you're ever going to go to a monastery, warning, there's lots of bowing. There's just tons of bowing. But if you go to one of these convert Buddhist monasteries, it's not compelled upon you. Everybody else, for the most part, is bowing, and you will feel weird if you're the only one who's not, but nobody is going to come up to you and say you have to bow. It's just over time you see these beautiful people. You're surrounded by peaceful people that are bowing, and they don't seem brainwashed that much. And say, okay, that seems like a beautiful person, and I want to be like that person a little bit. Maybe I can bow. There's nothing inherently cultful about a bow. It's just a movement of the body. It's just a yoga posture. There's nothing culty inherently about a physical movement of the body. And so maybe you start to bow, like I did. You're there for a while, and it just feels weird when you're the only one who's not bowing. But again, no pressure to bow anytime tonight or into the future. But maybe I can do it. Maybe there's not anything inherently wrong, or I'm not selling my soul. I'm not writing myself off to anybody or anything or any religion by just moving my body in this way. So, okay, I can bow. And what am I bowing to? So, in Buddhism, we do 3 bows. We have lots of 3s, but with the bows, that's bowing to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And for anyone who said it, or even if you didn't say it, if you heard it said, Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, that literally means gacchami, I go to, Buddhang saranang. It might better be translated as the Buddha refuge, Dhammang saranang, the Dhamma refuge, the Sangha refuge. That's a more literal translation than I go for refuge to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, to the Sangha. So what is, for you, what is your working definition, your working meaningful definition? And more than just a definition, how can these things, and they do start off as words, how can they become something that you actually would want to bow to, literally orienting your life to these things? So at monasteries, we orient our life around these things. We orient our spaces. There's the choice architecture of a Buddhist monastery. I know of at least one monastery in Thailand which only has one very, very large Buddha statue in the hall. And all of the huts scattered around the forest, maybe 40 or 50 of them, do not have any kind of ornamentation or no kind of decorations in the huts, but all of the huts are facing, it's very clear, the direction of that main hall, and everyone sleeps in the direction with their head facing that Buddha statue as a symbol, an orientation of this Buddha refuge. So what is a meaningful Buddha refuge? And at other monasteries, the monastery I ordained at, and most monasteries I live at, the hut I live in now, I have a shrine, and I sleep in that direction. And first thing upon waking, we're on the floor, so it's super easy. The first thing I can do after I crawl out of my little sleeping bag sack, and I sit up and get my back straight. And it's a little bit hard because I'm tired, but okay, back straight. I want to be an upright human. Back straight, and then bow to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, to the Sangha. And for me, these 3 things are meaningful. And again, you have to find ways to make them meaningful for yourself. You have to find ways to make them meaningful for yourself, especially tonight. If you're going to stay till midnight, we're going to chant this. It's about a minute or 2-minute long chant that we're going to chant in a minute 108 times. So it's a chant to the refuge of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. So we're going to be saying these words a lot. They're on the laminated sheet. And it is, the English is on there as well, and hopefully there's nothing too weird on there, but you want it to be meaningful. And you can actually, it's great, the words are, it's in Pali, that's the tradition, it does go back all the way to the time of the Buddha. And how can it be meaningful for you? And if you find yourself chanting it, and you do seem disconnected, it does just seem rote chanting, then okay, I'm actually gonna stop and return to this kernel of meaning of Buddha. So literally the word Buddha means the awakened one. Bud is the Pali and Sanskrit root, which means to awaken. I've said this before, and it is a true, genuine fact. So if you feel that the talk so far has been utterly factless, here's a fact for you. The Pali and Sanskrit word Buddha is cognate with the Russian word budilnik, which means alarm clock. It means alarm clock because it's that which wakes you up. This is a principle which hopefully we can want to bow to, or if we're not yet down with the bowing, at least returning. Okay, what is wakefulness? And yeah, way before I was Buddhist, this was like in 6th grade, I realized that I was going to die, that my existence was finite. And I found in this book of quotes, it was like a Norwegian or a Swedish quote that was, "The more you sleep, the less you live." So I wrote that on a piece of paper in Sharpie, and I taped it onto my ceiling. And if you don't know how to meditate, and all you're going to do is, just watch TV, then wakefulness is not inherently a virtue. Just being awake is not a virtue in and of itself. So what is the wakefulness that the Buddha attained to? What is this Buddha, one who has awakened? What is that principle? And what is it in yourself? There's a sutta where where it's Venerable Mahakachana is giving a talk. He's the foremost disciple in elaborating a short discourse given by the Buddha. So he's talking to this king, and then at the end, he's such a good Dhamma talk giver. And then at the end of the talk, the king says, "Oh, I have so much in refuge. I have so much faith in you. I go for refuge to you, Venerable Mahakachana, and to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha." And Venerable Mahakachana says, don't do that. Don't go to refuge to me. Go to refuge to the Buddha. And this king says, "That is a great idea. Where is the Buddha right now?" And Mahakachana says, actually, he just passed away. He just passed away like last month. But you can still go to that Buddha refuge, even though he passed away. So in the Pali Canon, there is this precedence for even after the historical Buddha, and he was a person. There's a lot of evidence that points to that. He was a person, and that is the foundational faith in terms of the historicity. There was a Buddha who, that's not that hard to believe that there was a human who lived in India 2,600 years ago or so. But the faith comes in is that he attained enlightenment. He realized awakening. And in Theravada Buddhism, that has a very clear and specific meaning. So what is the awakenedness? What has he awakened to? He's awakened to a state which is free from greed, anger, and delusion. So when you bow or when you say this, Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Sama Sambuddho, Vijacharana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu, Anuttaro Purisadhamma Sarati Sattha, Deva Manusanang Buddho Bhagava. When you say that, you can look at all the meanings and returning to this principle of non-greed, non-anger, and non-delusion. And those first two make a lot of sense as well. Okay, I know what anger is like, and I know what greed is like. And there have been times, even today, when I was not super angry and when I was not super greedy. So you can imagine what that would be. What if you could just live? Wouldn't that be awesome? The sanity of not being a slave to craving and aversion. Wouldn't that be so nice? Don't you, in hindsight, after you have lashed out at the person who you love most in your life and who is most meaningful to you, your wife or your husband or your monk brother or your nun sister or your brother or whatever it is, and you just said that jerky thing and you knew it was jerky the moment you said it, and then in hindsight, you realize, okay, that was temporary insanity. And I remember now that I actually love this person. And it was temporary insanity. So non-greed, non-anger, that's what the Buddha has awakened to. And this non-delusion is also specific as well. It's not a wishy-washy meaning. What is the Buddha not deluded about? He's not deluded about how a human mind creates suffering for itself. So he fully understood the psychodynamics of how and why we suffer. And knowing that, he knew the full way to not suffer. And he had realized that. So attained Nibbana. So non-transgressive, non-retrogressive. Having attained this, he and the Sangha, all those who've attained enlightenment after him, have attained to this awakening which they won't fall back on. There's no more greed after the Buddha has attained enlightenment, no more anger, no confusion about how one or he himself causes suffering for himself and for others. So all of that is meaningful. All of that is imbued in this word, Buddho. So we will, this evening, have lots of periods of meditation. So just after I finish talking, another period of an hour-long quiet meditation. So that meditation word, Bud on the in-breath, Do on the out-breath, is the traditional meditation object of the Thai forest tradition. And it does go back all the way to the time of the Buddha. And it is just returning to awakening. When the word Buddha is defined in the Thai chanting book, it has three meanings. And I'll say them in English. It's that which knows, so the quality of knowing, the quality of awakening or wakefulness, and the quality of refreshness, buk ban, the quality of lightness. It's the same word which is used to describe a lotus or a flower which is in bloom. So Buddho is the quality of knowing, of wakefulness, and of this refreshness. So returning to that awakening which knows, which is awake, and which is refreshing. Buddho, or you can say Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. I go to refuge to the Buddha. I go to the Buddha refuge. Or whatever it is, just allowing the mind to coalesce around this centerless center of the Buddha, the quality of knowing. Sometimes for myself, the breath will actually feel a bit refined. Say if I'm excited, or if I'm worked up, or even if there's some anxiety or even fear, what's more apparent than the breath in those moments might actually be the heartbeat. So I can sometimes hear the heart beating in my ears, and definitely feel the heart beating in the chest, or even in the stomach. And even if I can't, you can put your hand on your carotid artery, or on the pulse in your wrist, and take that as your mantra. Buddho, 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 Buddho. And you might find that the actual heartbeat, the whole body relaxes as you remember this, okay, coming back to presence. Whatever it is that's activated my nervous system, okay. Buddho, 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 Buddho. There's a discourse called the Abhisanda. It's Anguttara, the numerical discourse is 8.39. And Abhisanda means streams. And another name for the discourse is the streams of merit. But Abhisanda literally means overflowing. So that's very applicable to this heartbeat, the whelmingness, the overflowingness of merit. And the Buddha in this sutta says that there are 8 streams of merit, or streams of goodness, streams of the wholesome, food for happiness, divine, leading to happiness, leading to heaven, which are wished for, desired, agreeable, leading to what's beneficial, and leading to happiness. And what are those 8 streams or whelmings of merit? They are exactly what you chanted first today. The taking refuge in the Buddha, taking refuge in the Dhamma, taking refuge in the Sangha. These are streams of merit, streams of the wholesome, food for happiness, divine, leading to, and with result of happiness, leading to heaven, wished for, desired, agreeable, leading to what's beneficial, and leading to happiness. Refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And if you're counting along at home, that's just 3. So what are the next 5? They are what Ajahn Nisabo said were called the 5 gifts, the 5 great gifts, which are ancient, which are long-standing, which are traditional, which are conventional, which are unadulterated, and which are praised by wise people. And what are those great gifts? They are refraining from killing, refraining from stealing, refraining from sexual misconduct, from lying, and intoxicants. So that's 8 streams of merit, streams of goodness, streams of the wholesome, divine, nutriment for happiness. Doesn't that sound so good? Streams of merit, whelmings, just overflowings, streams of goodness. And that abhisanda, it's the same word which is used in the similes for the jhanas, when the Buddha said that just as the first jhana, you want to take the rapture and pleasure, which are born of seclusion, you want to take that rapture and pleasure and drench, steep, fill, and pervade the body with the rapture and pleasure born of samadhi, of jhana, of concentration, of peace. Drench, steep, fill, and pervade. Abhisandati, parisandati. It has this filling, this water. It's a stream of merit. So that's what we're inducing, what we're inclining towards right now. How could you drench, steep, fill, and pervade your mind, pervade the heart with the 3 refuges? How could you drench, steep, fill, and pervade your mind with the Buddha refuge, with wakefulness? What would that mean? How would that feel? The image the Buddha gave for the first jhana is just as a bathman, or a bathman's apprentice, or a bathwoman, or her apprentice. Just as if they were to take some bath powder and sprinkle a little bit of water on that, just the right amount, and you start kneading it into a ball of bath powder. It's kind of like soap in effect. We don't do bath powder these days, but imagine pizza dough. You just sprinkle it. You get all the right ingredients. You got the flour, you got the seasonings, and just sprinkle it with a little bit of moisture. And you want to take it and massage it, drench, steep, fill, and pervade that ball of bath powder, that pizza dough, with the rapture and pleasure born of seclusion. What would it mean to drench, steep, fill, and pervade the body with the Buddha refuge? Part of that posture that we assume when we come to meditate is emulating the Buddha. So we have Buddha statues which remind us, and we've got all the other practitioners in here. It's a posture which is upright but not uptight. A posture of poise, a posture of dignity, a posture which is drenched, steeped, filled, and pervaded with the streams, this welling up of goodness, of merit, of the wholesome, food for happiness, nutriment for happiness, divine. And the Dhamma, what is the Dhamma for you? And if this talk is boring, I once got advice. At my first Dhamma talk, I got 2 pieces of advice. One piece of advice from one senior monk. He said, when you get up there, just give a talk for yourself. And even if you're the only one who appreciates it, then it's a win. And I said, that's great. And then the second monk, I go up to him, and he says, just give the talk, and if they don't get it, that's their own fault. I said, all right. I like it, Ajahn. I like it. So the same with this Dhamma refuge. The same with any of these refuges. If it's not clicking for you, that's not the monk's fault. I mean, we try to explain things. We try our best, but really, we can't know what's going to work for you. You know your psychology better than we do. We're speaking to a big group of people, and what works for one person will definitely not work for another. There might be someone who has no problem with the historicity of the Buddha, someone who's been a Buddhist their whole life, and this is just elementary school stuff, that it's already very meaningful. You just say the word Buddha, and the stream of merit, the stream of goodness just showers upon you. You just feel that. And it really does. It can be like that. Some forms of piti, which the Buddha says you can drench deep and fill your body and pervade the body with, there are different types of piti or rapture. There's a showering rapture. There's a rapture which is like the ocean just lapping you. There's a rapture which is almost so exultant that it feels like you have no weight. So there are people who the Buddha refuge is meaningful for, like that. So if it's not like that for you, then figure out a way for it to be. And we'll be doing a lot of chanting, so you'll have a lot of time. We'll have a lot of time for meditation. And these can be refuges. We've picked up refuges. We've gone along with the stream of the world or our family conventions or societal conventions for our whole lives, more or less, and just have not been very intentional with choosing the stream that we go down, by choosing the stream intentionally. So what would it mean? What would be a Buddha refuge, which actually could be food, nourishment for happiness? Same with the Dhamma, same with the Sangha. Can you tap into that for the rest of this evening and on into the new year? The thing about anything, the Buddha said this word bhavana, which we oftentimes translate as meditation in English. Meditation is such a paltry and small word for the extent of the Buddha's word bhavana. Bhavana means to develop. And it's something we do on the cushion, we do it off the cushion. It's not breath specific, it's not eyes closed specific. It's something that we cultivate. It's literally development. So the Buddha said we can develop, cultivate, make much of these things, make much of the Buddha refuge, the Dhamma refuge, and the Sangha refuge. And what we're doing is we are exercising the Buddha refuge muscle, the Dhamma refuge muscle, the Sangha refuge muscle. And you're the one who has to choose what that is going to be for you. So what are you exercising as we say these words, as we say these mantras, as we take this refuge, as we breathe in, as we breathe out, as we sit in stillness? And so just encouraging everybody to make this evening as meaningful as possible. Make the evening as meaningful as possible. And then that'll be a great way to start the next year. So, in the talk there, and my tongue.